he's back there, ladies and gentlemen. It's Rodney Fyke, the pretty one, as we've discussed off the air. No, and yes, yeah, he just draws the pretty pictures, and I'm also the pretty one, or something to that effect. So
he's so handsome.
When I came to Windsor from Vancouver, I was driving down and I just made an epic screw up, and my sister helped me out, right? And this is there's deep love there, right? So I go, so if you're the smart one, does that make me the pretty one? And she just looks at that and goes, I'm the pretty one too. And that's like that's when that's when you're loved, because it's like, no, I'm gonna give you nothing, not as if it's zero.
Double whammy.
Yeah, exactly. Love is not the lovey-dovey. Oh, I love you so. There are moments like that, and they're great, and they're wonderful, and they're rare. But the truth is, most of the time, it's when you can actually just be yourself and they trust, and you can do things to the other person that you would never dream of doing to anyone else.
Oh yeah,
right. But you trust them enough that it's like,
love is honesty. Love is honest.
That's it. That's what it comes down to. That's the true meaning of love. Everything else, I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. You better say what you mean. You better actually care. All right. There's a fine line between like getting away with shit and treating them like shit. Right. But when it comes right down to it, it's like the ultimate form of trust is, can I be an asshole in front of you and will you still love me? Because that is the true measure. That is the true measure of love.
Exactly. If we can be assholes together, we're good.
Yeah. Exactly. That means we'll get along and just have a good time. And I mean, I must have done something right because you wanted to come back here. I mean, I either did something very right or very wrong. I mean, you have to let me know on that.
I had a great time the last time. So anytime I go somewhere and I have a good time, I always want to come back. So we had a good time last time. It was fun.
Absolutely. You guys were awesome. Even Tina, the short time she was on, some point I'd love to have you both on at the same time, because I think. Because honestly, I love your dynamic. I think it's awesome, and anyone that sees it will love you two that much more.
I keep telling her that, but she's afraid to get in front of the camera. You have to convince her. That's your job.
Okay. Okay.
Because I've been trying for 5 years.
No. So you want to hear a really funny story? I interviewed this band.
Yeah, give it to me.
Right. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna go. This was a few years back. So this was in Calgary. They had this cool little thing, and I show up. They're smoking up before the show begins.
Okay.
And this fly flies in, right? So one of the band guys blows smoke at the fly. So the fly goes right down because he's throwing as a kite. They actually give the fly bud, right?
Right.
So this fly is doing bicycle kicks upside down, stoned out of his mind, happier than a clam. This is a stone ass fly, right? And this bass player who never speaks into an interview. There's problems. My phone was at the end when you know how sometimes phones will lie to you about their battery life, especially when towards the end of their contracted times. You're at 40%, and then suddenly you're at 10%. You're like, okay, you lied to me. That's what happened to me. So in the middle of that, this fly gets mercifully, put out the pasture. So this bass player who never speaks opens up the podcast we named the fly Fred. I don't know why it was Fred that we actually came up with. He killed Fred, man, and that's literally how our conversation started. So this bass player who never speaks just spoke for quite a bit of this. So I think all of which to say is I think your wife would have fun on the show, because honestly, there's literally no pressure. I don't care what we talk about. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Right?
That's the great thing is, you can do all the prep you want. But if we go off on a riff and we're talking about whatever, I'm fine with that too. So
yeah, exactly. Well, okay, so the thing is, with a longer show like mine, preparation to a point is good. To a point. But the reality is, do you really want to spend an hour answering questions? I mean, let's be honest here. No, you really don't, do you? No,
I've spent the last 9 hours working on what we're going to talk about, so I'm I'm ready for a beer and a couch.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's all you want. Like shit. Like just like let's talk about fun stuff. I hope fun stuff anyway. Lord
Yeah.
knows we need it in this time. I think world's gone kind of crazy. I think
A little bit.
I'm gonna be like seriously in like a couple months. I'm starting to make booze on the side. I get the feeling we're all gonna need it.
I don't make my own, but I know a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, how much beer do we have? Look outside in this crazy apocalypse. I don't know if we have enough. Let's get some more just to be safe. I don't want to go back out there and deal with this shit. But no, we are in a strange time, my friend. That is definitely for sure. It's going to be interesting. I think the only thing we're going to talk about this is when we move on to talk about funny books and other stupid shit, because like we've gone stoneflies. We may as well have to balance with something kind of serious, half serious. I really wish we weren't in a time where everybody was so scared. That's the honest. I think that's the honest thing. Like looking around, if I were to diagnose what everybody has in common, we're scared out of our minds. And
Yep.
I think, and we make a lot, and it's very dangerous to make decisions when you're scared.
You know why everybody's scared?
I have some reasons. I have my theories, but what do you think?
Because they watch too much damn news.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch the news. I don't watch network television.
No.
And my life hasn't changed. I am as happy as I've been. I'm educated, but I don't sit and watch NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, CNN. I don't watch any of that because all of those companies have agendas, and we haven't been told the truth on news for the last 50 years.
At least
Probably longer than that.
I would say so. It's weird because I'm one of my freelance assignments right now is very depressingly doing a comparison and contrast of 1930s Germany to now, and it's depressing. It is a very depressing assignment because it's more similar than people would like to admit.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know 1930, are unaware of what happened in the 30s because they're uneducated.
Yep.
And that's kind of by design too.
Oh, sure it is. But I mean, one of the things, like I would say news reporting, and this is where I was going by that. News reporting probably stopped being completely honest in the early 80s. And the reason I know that is because you can look at how a newspaper article was written in 1982, and you can compare it to how it was written in 1983, and they're almost completely different styles. Part of that is audience evolution, but part of that too was a change in direction and design of companies. News hasn't been in the business of telling the whole truth for a very, very long time. I would probably go so far as to say the 60s or 70s, right? Would be when I'd say that. But I would say there was still some degree of integrity at probably to the early 80s, because that's when corporate America, corporate world really got involved in investing in these media companies. And ever since then, and ever since 9/11 made the 24-hour news cycle a thing, it has just basically ratcheted this whole concept up. And
actually, the Desert Storm in the 90s is what made the 24-hour news.
Okay, fair enough. No, hey. Yeah.
And, I was listening to Joe Rogan a couple months ago, and I can't remember who he was talking to, but they made a really interesting point that was kind of an awe moment for me. Said that the worst thing that happened to news in America is 60 Minutes, because the ratings were so high that it made the corporations realize that news can be profitable. And once that was realized and acted upon, we have been fed fodder. You know, I mean, we were fed fodder before then, but it got even worse after that.
Well, it's if you look at it, I think it's back to the moment once everybody realizes how you can profit at it. It's not making it profitable. It's about maintaining profitability. That usually is
Right.
the problem,
Right.
right? One of the things, like again, my dad's a naturopath, so one of the things I got to see when I was a kid, right when I was a kid, I would see people come in that would have some serious side effects from various medications, right? Looking for answers to problems that, when they've gone to the medical industry, did not work for
Right.
whatever reason. And like, that's for everybody, that's a little different. So, when I and then I and that the eureka moment for me there was, I realized, if people are sick, what do people keep doing? They keep going back to doctors.
Yep.
And keep getting prescribed. And once that eureka moment hit, it made me question everything.
Well, here's something to think about. People go to doctors in search of labels, or might not necessarily be in search of labels, but they're assigned labels. And labels dictate your thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're labeled, you're suffering from PTSD, or you're suffering from anxiety. You know what anxiety was in the 70s? Nerves.
Yeah.
Shyness. Nerves. Now, it's a reason to go on disability, and it's a reason to be prescribed medications. And you and I both know that every time a doctor writes a prescription, they get a check. So it's part of the grand design to keep you dumb, keep you docile, and keep you placated with distractions.
I think the most honest commentary was a comedy I watched. I don't know if that was out in the 70s, called The Network. Remember that movie, The Network?
Oh, yeah.
I think the honest thing in there was when Beale met the head of the network. And the guy was, "You have meddled in the forces of nature, and I won't," like, that whole scene.
Yeah.
Might have been the most honest thing I've ever seen on television. Maybe. Yeah. Right? And because it's like, there are no nations, there are no peoples. It's just simply the world is a business. He's not wrong. Like, he's not wrong at all.
Nope.
And understanding the nature of the business. Once you understand the nature of it, you can see why some of these things are happening.
Right.
They're horrifying.
You can predict events. Yeah.
Yeah. They're horrifying. They're absolutely horrifying. But you can see why. Right? And it's like, oh. And some people listening to this are going, this sounds almost conspiracy. It's not. It's really not. It's just, if you understand, the United States' most profitable business is war. Defense contracts by far outdo everything. Yep. Number two is medical. So pain is business.
Pain is profitable.
Yes, it is. Pain is profitable. And you understand that, you understand how the United States works. Period. Sucks. It really, really does.
It's how every industrialized nation works.
Yep.
They keep their population dumbed down with medications to make them docile. And they give them distractions like soap operas and sports. Mm-hmm. And they can, when something they're trying to do, they don't want you to pay attention to, they'll cause a diversion over here and say, "Oh, look over here," while they're doing what they're doing in the shadows over here. And it happens time and time again. Mm-hmm. If you remember, 2 days before 9/11, the news report came out that $93 trillion went missing from the National Reserve. And it was reported on maybe once or twice. On September 9th or 10th, it was the 9th. And then 9/11 happened, and it was never mentioned again. Where do you think that $93 trillion went?
No idea. No idea. It's just like,
what do you think it was used for?
Well, that I can make guesses. Let's put it this way: I can make "quote unquote" educated guesses. Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not conspiratorial. I dive into those rabbit holes just enough to give me ammunition to write.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also um, understand what angles to study situations from. To You have to be able to read between the lines when you're watching the news, no matter what channel you're on. And you have to understand what agenda is being pushed on what channel. And you really have to think for yourself, which a lot of people are incapable of doing nowadays because they're so used to being fed what they think that they've forgotten how to think for themselves because they're so influenced by what they hear, see, and read that they've really forgotten how to think for themselves. A lot of people are incapable of critical thinking in this country anymore.
So one of the things I've been doing with like the big issues right now, the vaccine. So one of the things I've been doing, I just have been looking what the FDA, what other governments farther along the vaccination program are doing, seeing, and reporting.
Right.
That's how I base my conclusions on. I'm not basing my conclusions on anything I'm watching.
Right.
I'm just looking at numbers don't lie. Like that's just the thing. Like numbers don't lie, and the numbers you see make you go, right? And like I said, and the thing is, the information's out there. All people really got to do is look for it.
Yeah, but you have to when looking for it, you have to realize that numbers can be manufactured.
Sure, absolutely.
You have to make sure that, and you know this as a writer, as a pseudo reporter, you have to, when you find facts and information, you have to find the source. Where's that coming from? Because the source dictates the agenda.
That's true, but at the same time, if you can, so what I do is, like, for example, I'm looking at England's numbers,
right,
to kind of predict what's going to happen here, because England's about 4 months ahead of Canada and about 2 months ahead of you. About 2 months, because you guys started, I think, April when you guys were doing this, like when you guys really were serious about certainly starting to vaccinate. They started like in February.
Okay.
So based on, so I'll look at England, and then I'll compare it to Scotland, because they're two different countries, two different people are different people. And if I see the same pattern, I'll see if I can find that pattern somewhere else. And if I see that pattern, say, in Japan or Iceland or Australia, or suddenly I have a working theory. Now, I could still be wrong. I could totally be wrong. But if I'm seeing 1, 2, and 3 are, if not quite the same, really in the same ballpark, I can make an educated guess, a fairly educated guess, what is going to happen anywhere else, just based on what I see and read. And that's what I've been doing. It's not rocket science. It's just like, these numbers, okay, that doesn't seem good. Is this anywhere else? Get luck. Oh shit, it's here too. Is it anywhere else? Okay, here too. And then you try to figure out why. If there's any differences, then you try to figure out why. Right? Sometimes you can't. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason you can figure out. And you're going to kind of go like this, and you just say, okay, this is what I think, but maybe I'm wrong. That's all you can do, really. Right?
Yep. Dig for facts and make deductions from that.
That's it. That's all any of us can do. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the as far as we're going to go down any of these rabbit holes. Because honest to God, neither of us really want to do that in this episode. Although I get the feeling off the air, I get the feeling we're probably more similar than different on probably how we see things going. I have a hunch. I have a hunch. Yeah. But no, like the only thing I'm going to say about critical thinking. I learned this way back when I was taught critical thinking. The biggest thing I was always taught is never, when someone presents you with something, never hear it, but you don't necessarily have to agree with it right away. Let it percolate and see if you can verify it on your own. If you can, then there's something to it. Even if you don't agree with the conclusion, right? You don't, and that's the other thing too. My conclusions might be different than somebody else's. That doesn't mean I'm right. What it means, though, if I can present a case, it has to at least be considered. and that's the important thing, right? And then and then at that point you make the best decisions you know how to make. Then that's all any of us can do.
Yep.
All right.
I agree.
So, all right, you're not just the pretty one. I think we figured that there's a thinking man in there. I can tell.
Oh shucks, thanks.
Yeah, you're right. You're not just pretty, you're smart too. But yeah. So we mentioned we talked about a little bit of this last time, but I mean, as far as funny books go, right? As far as funny books go, you know, you're doing more Kickstarters. Like, how has I've been just being asked this because it seems to me like one of the cool things about this time in general, not just in comics, but in everything, there's more opportunity to do more things on your own.
Yeah.
Right? Are you having a blast with that? Because I almost feel like you wouldn't. I'm not sure you'd go to a company. I mean, there are some things I'm sure you'd love to do, but as a businessman, Rodney Fyke, do you need to do those things anymore?
Need and want are funny things.
Yeah, exactly.
What the Kickstarter option has presented us with is just that, another option to I can be more productive because we can go hire somebody else to draw, so I'm not writing and drawing. I can write some other books and have other people draw them, and then through the Kickstarter we can pay for that. And based on the success of our last 2 Kickstarters, we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Because it's just, but it's a learning process. You know, there are do's and don'ts, and you know, we'll be jumping into our 3rd one here in October, and it's just. You know, your every day's class is in session, and yeah, you have to be paying attention. You know, watch what your buddies are doing, and just kind of, and that, you know, that's a lot of what we've done is we've just paid attention to what our friends are doing, who are, you know, a year or so ahead of us, in the you know, their business ventures, and we just kind of piggyback on them, and we ask questions. You know, and we tell them, okay, well, we're going to steal this and we're going to steal that. We work together. You know, I'm not one of those types at a show. I'm the guy that's teaching people how to draw a cap on a shoulder instead of scurrying over and keeping all the missile codes locked in my briefcase. I'm not one of those. I'm very free with information, and all of my friends are the same way. So we learn from each other, we teach each other, and we all share in levels of success.
It's the best way.
Yeah.
It's honestly the best way. Like I think the biggest illusion of competition is, Joe, the fact of the matter is there's 7 billion people on this planet, almost 8 billion people. And dude, there's going to be someone that loves your stuff. And that, unless you're doing something absolutely like god awful. Right. And even then, look, I've made fun of it in the past. Rob Liefeld's Captain America is probably one of the worst. And by the way, Rob, if you ever do listen to my show, I'm sorry, it's just my opinion. It is one of the worst books I've ever read.
Right.
Period. Somebody likes it.
Oh, sure.
Somebody likes that book. Right? It's not me.
They didn't ask him to do that by mistake. They asked him to do it because each book that he writes sells 1 million copies. So he's doing
exactly, right? And you know, and that's also to his credit. Like I can say what I think of that particular book, but I can't deny Rob Liefeld's success. He's earned it, right? Period.
And he's one of the current. He's one of the current creators that actually owns his characters that he, you know, and makes money off the characters that he created at Marvel. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of people say that. I mean, yeah, he's a damn good businessman.
Yeah. No,
so kudos to him. Just learn how to draw feet.
Tiny heads. That's the thing about me. It's tiny heads,
Tiny
giant
heads, and barrel chests.
Yeah. You just, it's just like, it's just like you see that and you're going, well, dang, what the fuck do I know?
But you know what's funny though is he's like every other artist. He has his go-to poses.
Oh, sure.
Jim Lee has his go-to poses. John Byrne had his go-to poses and still has them. So does George Perez. Everybody's got them. Rob's are just more recognizable because they're harsher. I chose that word.
That was a very good word choice. I'm not gonna like. There's a grin, like the grin gives it all away.
Set that right there and walk away.
Yeah, exactly. It's like harsher. That's a good word. Out. I'm out.
Drop the mic.
But I am going to give him his props though for a second.
Oh yeah.
One of the most creative guys in the business, and then that's not like straight up. I think the only guy that's made more characters than him is Eric Larson, and that's everybody talks about Cable Deadpool, but the fact is Robson has created some amazing concepts for books, Youngblood, Prophet, Supreme. Right, he's done some interesting things. He's created some really interesting ideas. Whatever you might think about the execution of them might be another story, but his ideas are amazing. And I do not think I mean, and this is someone that's not a big fan of him. He never comics wouldn't be the same without him, and that's the honest, absolute truth, right?
I remember when he burst on the scene when he started doing. Well, I remember when he did Hawk and Dove for DC. I was in high school, and I was like, "Whoa, who is this guy?" And then he jumped over to the New Mutants, and at that time, Brett Breedings was doing the New Mutants, and it was okay. But he had to follow Bill Sienkiewicz, and so it went from here to down here, and then Rob come on and brought all these new characters with him. And I remember we went to New York Comic Con in 1990. And he was sitting there at a table with Scott Williams and Eric Larson. And I had brought this big piece of illustration board, had people doing sketches and signing it and stuff. And I asked him to do me a head sketch real quick. And he said, "Oh, I'm not drawing." And I said, "Oh, come on." I said, I drove all the way from Cincinnati, 16 hours just to. He's like, "Oh, hell, you drove all the way from Cincinnati. Well, give me that board." And he grabbed the board and he sat there and did me a headshot of Boom Boom. And then he handed it to Scott. And Scott signed it, and then he handed it to Eric, and Eric drew Mary Jane, a headshot of Mary Jane. And they couldn't have been three nicer guys, So he gets a lot of shit, but he's a nice guy, and he's very enthusiastic.
Yes.
And he loves what he does, so good for him.
No, and again, whatever, and I'm going to reiterate this again. Whatever I may think of him personally as a creative,
right?
I can't knock him for anything he's done because the fact of the matter is, he's done he has a Hall of Fame level career.
Yeah. No
matter what anybody says, he's had a Hall of Fame level career, and that's something else to say about him. Now, if you were to give me a choice between him and say George Perez, I love George. George is awesome, right? But again, that's taste, and taste can't be argued with at all, So, but going, it's interesting. Like now, I've actually, for me, because of this whole Kickstarter era, I have actually backed away from collecting mainstream comics quite a bit. It's not, I haven't fully walked away from it, and I don't think I ever will fully do it, but my pull list is incredibly tiny, and I don't think it's ever going to be big again, because mainstream comics is going to become another niche. And that's what I realized about it about 2 years ago. It's like, it's heading into this little corner of the universe that's still profitable, marketing, lucrative, and it's great for the resume. And there's some great people in that part of the world. I've interviewed a few of them. They're awesome people. But I realized that their future is, your properties are going to be in this nice little corner of the universe. And beside them, there's someone like Rob Multuri, or right. Oh, no, definitely, man. You're great, right? Rob Terry, John Soltaro, right? Rich Perota, right? People that are putting in the work now are going to have all this intellectual property that can be done, like to make these cool projects go. You have more of a chance of taking some of your work and getting it made into a movie or video game or cartoon or obnoxious T-shirts and coffee mugs that can just blind people just literally by like, oh my god, I can't see, but this is amazing, right? That is a possibility now more than ever, and I'm thinking about this in the long term. I'm not sure if you become a big enough creative with your own name value that you're going to necessarily want to do. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's like a dream. Like for me, it's Green Lantern because I'm a nerd and I love Green Lantern.
Right.
And I'm sure you got a couple of those, but there might actually come a point down the road where you'd be like, I don't know if this from a business sense makes sense for me to do. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I can see it.
There's an artist, and I won't name him, but I had a discussion with him at Motor City Con in Detroit a few years back, and he told me, he says, I've worked for Marvel, I've worked for DC, I've worked for Warner Brothers, I've worked for Disney, and I've had huge success with all of those companies, and all of those companies look really good on my resume. He says, but the one thing about all of those companies that's true is I don't own any of those characters. So I get paid one time for the work that I do. I get a check for it, and then they move on to the next project. And they take my artwork and they put it on T-shirts, and they put it on posters, and they put it on coffee mugs, and they make all this merchandising money that, if I'm lucky, I might say 0.5% quarterly, and most of the time you don't even see that. He said so, and he encouraged me. He said, do you, don't aspire to work for the big two. And I told him, I said, I'm not gonna lie. If somebody came knocking on my door and said, hey, here's an Avengers script, what do you think? Can you do something with it? I'd be like, yeah, but I've got too much stuff up here of my own that I want to get out.
Yeah. And also, like, there's an investment aspect to it too. Because here's the thing, right? I got a Green Lantern story in my head. It'd be fun to tell it. It'd be stupid fun to tell it. Because I think you can do again, Green Lantern's got this really cool universe. I don't even need to do the main characters. If I did, that'd be great. But if it's just a Green Lantern story, I might actually prefer it because they'll let me do more crazy shit. But that's just how I see things.
Right.
But once I tell that story, like I said, I get a paycheck, I move on, I do other things, and if that story becomes this next great launch for a movie, television series, I might see something for it, but probably not very much.
Right.
So,
but if you take that story and you wrap it around your characters, put it in your product, you own it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that means if I make a game out of it, I make money there. Video game, I make money there. I make an obnoxious coffee cup that you go blind looking at, I make money there. I make a crazy T-shirt, you go there. Right?
Yeah.
So instead of taking like if you look at what publishers do, like all these big media companies do, they take a property and they sell it as many times as possible. It is now possible for a creative to do the same thing with their own work.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, especially with the variant cover realm. You can do one book and have 25 variants and make a ton of money, or you can do the book and then you can add a backup story in it. Which is what we've done with Pitter Patter. We just got done with the Pitter Patter Kickstarter. Trying to steer into that for a minute.
Go ahead.
So that Kickstarter is done, and let's see, all of our rewards are here, and the books are going to be ordered this week, and we hope to be shipping them out the second week of October. But what we did, remember, that was the first 2 issues. We had released issue 1 prior, but it was only 12 pages. And now there's a 12-page story, the original 12-page story. We added a 5-page backup story, and then I added a 1-page story in it with some other stuff. So now it's a 20-page book now. And I can do that because it's mine, and you're getting issue 2 as well. So yeah, but yeah, that's going on there with that. And then as far as Roadkill Rampage goes, for issue 2, we're planning on launching that October 20th, pending approval from Kickstarter, which see no reason why it shouldn't be approved. So yeah, that we can get into the nitty gritty of y'all can see chapter 2 of Roadkill Rampage. And I just sent out the script for issue 3 for some people to punch some holes in. So we'll be getting that back in a few days, and I can finish up writing issue 3 and get it off to the artist. So yeah, we're busy with all of our stuff,
Yeah, no, it's again makes sense, right? And now you're slowly carving a little empire, the empire of Rodney. That's basically what this is, the empire of Rodney and Tina.
And Tina.
Tina. Well, actually, see, she's the empress. She's the ultimate empress of all empresses in this universe.
Us together is Hasm, Hasm.com, where you can go buy all the books. All the books are available online.
That's right. And when we get to the end of this interview, he'll do the spiel all over again, because it's always important when you always do shows like this, at the beginning and at the end, you always make. That's because people will always always remember the last thing they hear, right? And hopefully with the show like mine, and at least my audio numbers have proven this beyond a shadow of a doubt. It seems like it's growing, like really, really growing. So it's like, so people awesome. Like I'm obnoxious and doing my stuff and spiel it now. So I'm not doing something, right?
It's organic. It's who you are. And I think that's why you and I get along so well, was because there's this whole business world that we exist in, and it's stressful and it's taxing, but in our cores, we're just goofballs, and we just want to be goofballs.
Well, it's too much work. Like honestly, this is what it comes down to me. It's just too much fucking work.
It is.
I would rather know where you stand. We can disagree on everything. I'm good with that. I'll still have a beer with you. I don't care. I believe in God. You think you're a hardcore atheist? Cool. I don't care. I don't give a rat's ass. You can worship Satan. I don't give a fuck. I really don't. Yeah. No, I truly. Do you know? I put this up as a motivation on Monday, and this is all I care about with people. This is where I am, because I'm struggling as a freelancer, trying to get myself more clients, more building myself up, becoming more of a brand onto myself, because I can work for others on small scale, but I've come to that point in my life I can't do it anymore. I just can't. I realized that it was just like, forget it. It's not going to work for me unless it's certain kind of jobs.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so I'm trying to establish myself. So it's like, why pretend? I'd rather know where we stand right away, because I would look at it like this: you're a goofball, I'm a goofball. I'm an honest guy. I'm a bit of an asshole, a bit of a dick, but like you said, we seem to get along, right? So here's the thing: maybe down the road, I can work with you on something, or vice versa, right? Because we get along, right? I'd rather know that up front. Hey, you're my kind of person. Hey, I'm my kind of person. So let's get together and work together and see if we can make some money together. Maybe it doesn't work out. It's like, it just doesn't work out. That's cool too.
Right.
No hard feelings. At the very
we can still be friends. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not rooting for you. That's why you're back on my show, because why not? I would rather everybody be successful than no one successful. Right. And I don't see why anybody can't be successful. But I have also realized that I am not everybody's flavor of ice cream. It's unfortunate, because I think I'm awesome. But that all said, right? I'd rather know up front. It saves so much time. And like, as you get older, you realize your time's precious.
Yeah, it's very precious. Time is money. Yeah. I agree. It's you get into these ventures with people who claim to be as enthusiastic as you are with a project, and a month in, it's like pulling teeth to get this or to get that, and it's just like, come on, you know? Yeah, you expect people to be as enthusiastic about it as you are, and they're not, and that's disappointing.
So, I have 8 rules to success. My very first rule sounds like the dumbest rule ever. Show up.
Yeah.
It sounds so fucking dumb.
But it's everything.
It is everything. That's the thing. I would rather you be here enthusiastic and fuck everything up. Because at the very, you know what? The worst I can say about that person, even though they might have screwed everything up, you're just not ready right now.
Right.
I can handle that. That means down the road, because if the attitude checks out, if the attitude is all there, then it's just practice and getting to the skill to where it needs to be.
Right.
That is so doable. That is so doable. But if you're not going to show up,
what's the point?
Yeah. No matter how good you are.
Right.
There was one client I was actually going to promote a Kickstarter for. One of the things I wanted from them was a list of contributors for their project. One of the reasons is, and also the date they would launch their project. The reason for that is I can start promoting it even before the launch to build it as big as I could.
Right.
I never got that information. So I ended up firing the client because what else could I do? I need this, and this. Maybe I didn't make it clear enough why I needed those things, but I thought they were pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
So I can start promoting this and do the job to the best of my. If I can't do that, if you're not, this is your project, not mine. If you're going to do this now, what are you going to do with it's yours when we're live? I bailed because.
Yep.
Right? That's why I bailed ultimately. It's just like, well, red flag, bye. But it's a common thing. Hey, I'm going to be there. No, you're not.
Liar.
And some shit happens too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've certainly been late on stuff.
Right.
Shit does happen. But when I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. I mean what I say.
Yeah.
You know. No. That's generally it. Like I this is more serious than I thought we'd be this time around. But it's still a good talk.
That's okay. That means we can get deep with conversations. That's cool.
Right. I don't mind that. I'm just like I figured we could pop, but no, like it just when you're younger, you want the world. But when you get older, you realize really all that matters is that you show up and just do it. Yeah. That's it. It is, and most people fail endeavors because they break rule 1.
Yeah.
That's it. That is the biggest downfall. If you show up, it may not work out, but I promise you something will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't swing for the fences if you're not at the park. Yeah, there's my kingdom for somebody that shares our enthusiasm. You know, it is so frustrating. I have to stop myself from thinking where we'd be if I could take 2 years back and make 2 decisions differently because of the time that it cost us. We'll leave it at that.
I don't need to know the details. We won't go into the details. But I'm going to ask you this. I've learned more from my mistakes and learning these things on my own.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I would have been as wise to it if I hadn't made those mistakes. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So all of which to say, it's like, you did I get it. You lost time now, and it sucks. But on the flip side, maybe it's better now because later on, you might run into something that's even worse, and now you're at least prepared to deal with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And the thing that it's taught me is I used to go into projects with this idea of wanting. I'm a snob when it comes to art. You know, if I can't do it, I have an idea of what I want it to look like in my head, and I have to have that look, or I'm not even going to bother with the project because nobody's going to buy it. I'm over that now. I really am, because as long as the artwork is competent and my work is competent, when I say, I mean like my writing, and it's entertaining and it's thought provoking, just entertaining. That's enough. Thought provoking is a bonus. Um, People are going to be interested and it's going to sell. Um, so I guess what I'm trying to say is when I was younger, I would handcuff myself and not do projects because I couldn't get the art that I wanted. And I'm over that now.
So, for me, I stopped worrying about if it was good.
Yeah.
As dumb as that is, right? I stopped worrying about it because it's like, here's the thing: I can always make it better once it's on the page. Doesn't matter if I'm writing or drawing. I can always make it better once it's on the page. But it has to be on the page because once it's on the page, it's real.
Right. It's in tangible form. It can be edited.
It can be edited. It can be polished up to a point. I have a weird relationship with perfection at this point. Is I appreciate the ideal it is, but I've also been working very hard not to be a slave to it because I realized something very wonderful about the universe. It's not perfect. It's always changing.
Yep.
So why worry about the perfect line when I can just write more shit and get better as I go? It sounds like, again, maybe it sounds like a really dumb way of doing it, but I just realized, like, most people, again, just based on my universal logic, most people don't show up. So if most people don't show up, if I have something on the page, even if it's absolute garbage, it's better than the person that didn't show up. That already puts me in like the top 30. Like out of 100 people, it puts me in the top 30 automatically, right?
Yeah, it makes you a bit of a talker.
Yeah. Yeah.
That alone sets apart. But Tina has a saying that she tells me when I'm doing the artwork and I'm on a struggle bus trying to get something to look right, and I'm cursing the gods because I can't get this angle right or this perspective's off or whatever. And she'd tell me, "Hey, stupid, nobody knows but you. Just get it done and shut up and move on." And that's so true. Nobody knows but you. Just get it done. The Joey Bag of Donuts on the other side of the table doesn't care if that wheel on that vehicle is not completely accurate.
I really want her on the show now. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Well, she's right here. You said shout out to her. See if you can pull her over here.
I just want to say, Tina, if you are listening to this, you're a very, very wise woman. I'm not even joking. That is amazing advice. I just wanted to. You literally, I'm not kidding, should write that down, have him draw something pretty with it, and make a t-shirt out of it. It's that brilliant. I'm not kidding. Like I am not kidding at all. It is actually one of the most insightful views of art I think I've ever heard. It's brilliant.
Do you hear that? Yeah, I heard. You are brilliant. I could have told you. She could have told us that.
Did I at least make her smile? That's the only question I have.
Oh yeah. She's over there giggling.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's so true. So many artists beat themselves. I started drawing almost a year since I started drawing, right? You know, for the longest time, I was frozen with this thought of, well, what if my stuff sucks? And then the second most wonderful thought came in my head. It's like, so what if it sucks? Just do it.
Yeah.
Dude, I never thought Lego would be so hard to draw. It's that, like, there are things that have surprised me that were so hard to draw. Lego was one. I also failed at Jigglypuff. I'm not entirely. Yeah, the eyes. It's the eyes. It's all about the, like. what I realized about expressive styles of art, right? The expression must be correct. You can goof off with all other shape, like all other parts of the shape do not matter. But if the expression is off, I made a jiggly without pups. I was very, very sad. I made a jiggly without the pups. Like, yeah, I actually described that as in my Instagram. This is Jigglypuff, but it's jiggly without the pups because it's not.
Well, it's interesting because when you're doing you said that you got the eyes or the expression wrong. When you're drawing a portrait, the most important thing is the teeth.
Really?
Because those, like I've got this gap at the bottom of my bottom of my teeth. The teeth are the one thing that are unique to each individual part, other than your fingerprints. Your teeth are what make you you. When you smile, if somebody drew you and just put in generic teeth, it would be off. They got to get the way, like my front teeth are overlapped just a tiny bit. And that's me. That's what makes me me, especially when you're drawing. So a lot of people don't realize that. You got to get the teeth right.
Yeah, that's interesting because I never would have considered that. I'll have to experiment with that a little bit as time goes on. So I'm trying, like, the other thing that kicked my ass, Bill Moz, if he ever listens to my show, it'll talk to me. Breasts kicked my ass too. That again, things that don't seem hard at first are actually quite surprisingly more difficult than things I thought that would be like super hard, like drawing. Here, actually, I'll do this. Here, I'll grab my book. This is the art book I have. It's nearly done. So, give me a second here. I'll try to find. I'm looking for Jiggly without the puffs, so I can show you the. So, like this is surprisingly, like, you can recognize that buddy right there, right? That right?
Right.
So that's okay. That's actually pretty decent. This is better. I like this one a lot better. You can tell I got the expression a lot more down on this one. It's not quite as crazy, right? So I'm like, I can do that. Right? I can kind of do that. So let me take a look here. Good old Earthworm Jim. See? You can tell it's Earthworm Jim. You can totally tell that's Earthworm Jim. Not bad for I mean, like I said, I've learned a lot drawing this year. The odyssey of learning art has been fun.
No, I'm here.
I got you. Just want to make sure. I want to make sure. It's just here. I'm gonna take it like here. See, here's Team Rocket. First try it out. Right.
Okay.
There. Here's Mr. Jiggly without the puffs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can see what I mean by that. Just they didn't quite get it right.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't quite get him right. But I got Mew right. That's Mew. And that's pretty right. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Okay. So it's been so again, but you learn every time you do something like this, right? And like I said, I never thought again, if you had asked me a year ago, would you be drawing stuff in like your own stuff? The answer would be hell no. And now it's like, maybe. Actually, I am. I'm actually drawing. I'm doing a science fiction novel. It's called Lights Out. And I'm actually drawing, like, this is on Twitch. So I'm doing like a Twitch stream style, like pages, panels for parts of the story. But right. I'm also doing some actual just different scenes. And again, I'm not the most talented guy, but that's not really the point. The point is it creates that experience in when I'm telling the story.
Right, yeah.
So there's this one very, very pretty girl I like that I'm actually drawing in the book because I kill her. It's one of those things. People like being murdered in their book. I don't know why, but also it was amazing because I saw this picture of her, and she's with a guitar. She's a singer actress. I've never seen a picture when I saw her with like this is who she is, and I liked it so much. Like, I'm going to draw it in there because it's the perfect way to put like an epilogue to your character, because this would be who this character was too. And she was like, that'd be really cool. So I'm going to be trying some stuff I've never done before. It may not look, and again, one of the things I realized is, what if it's terrible? I'm like, well, maybe it's not so terrible. And maybe I shouldn't worry about it. I should just do it. And even if it doesn't come out perfectly, or they mock me for like, hey, my teeth aren't right now, and that's something I'm going to keep in mind when I do her, right? You know, maybe just maybe this will be better than I thought, or at the very least, a hell of a learning experience, right?
Well, yeah, and you've only been drawing for a year, so I mean, you look at your stuff a year from now compared to what you're doing now, and when you look at your stuff now compared to what you were doing when you first started, I'm sure you can see an improvement.
Absolutely.
So just keep at it, and it's like anything. The more you keep at it, the more you grow.
Absolutely. I've become a Renaissance man. I write and I draw. I don't know if I'll do. I have a comic in my head. I have to draw a comic. It's featuring a character that makes fun of the artist for drawing weird shit. It's a good way. So I can be absolutely terrible and get away with it because. Right?
Brilliant.
How can you be bad in a comic and be okay with it when it's about drawing? It's about learning. But I also think it's the best way to learn. If you're not afraid of failure or success, nothing can stop you. Like nothing.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just like Nike said, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, or indifferent. You've got it done.
That's right.
You are not the judge of what you do. You just produce it, and the world will judge whether or not it's brilliant.
Well, I actually have a my big thought about that is actually it really doesn't matter what the world thinks either. I hope so. I hope people want it and read it, and I hope they love it, and I hope they hate it. That's great too, right? I hope they're not indifferent about it. That's my biggest worry is indifference.
Right.
But what it comes down to is I just realized, like, could you imagine doing anything else? And if the answer is no, then guess what? This is the course you're going to walk. And this is the course you're going to do. And like I said, I'm writing nonfiction. I'm writing like freelancing stuff. I've been redactors for a magazine. I've done writing stuff. I'm doing like secret histories of the world stuff. Right. So, it's like I'm expanding myself there. It's like I get the feeling for me it's going to be one of this magic kaleidoscopes where everything kind of hits at once. And when it does, it's be like, I what the hell happened?
I think I did it.
Yeah, I think I did it. Well, every time I've had a successful moment, it's weird because it's not like I changed anything. I just did something long enough that people notice. And when I realized that, it was like, wow, like my resume. This is an award-winning podcast. One of my books is award nominated. Like Threat that I released last year is an award nominated this year. So I mean that's cool. I did nothing different than what I have already done.
No. And I mean that's what you continue to do. You just continue being you and doing you, and the world will decide.
Yeah. Actually, it's like cool. I'm just gonna keep doing my thing, and like I said, and maybe adding making booze a hall for like we're starting towards the end of the year, just because like I said, get the feeling we're all gonna need a little bit more before the year's out. But no man, like it's about showing up and doing great things. And it sounds like this. I have said this ad nauseum throughout this entire run of the show, but it's honestly showing up, doing your thing, and not quitting. That's rules 1, 2, and 3. It's if above all else, remember those things. You will succeed. It may not look like what you imagined it will be, but you will succeed.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Finishing is what a lot of people. If you can finish, a lot of people can't. So when you're done with an issue or a story, it's on the shelf. Nobody can take that away from you. I have a section on my bookshelf of all the books that I've worked on over the last 30 years. And good, bad, or indifferent, nobody can take that away. You know,
No.
it's my body of work. You know, so
So I want to ask a very interesting question.
okay.
What's the work you've done? What work do you have up there? I know you learned from all of them. But looking back so far, what work have you done has taught you the most?
There's two answers because there's two eras.
Okay, sure.
So the first era would be Superior 7 #1 because it was my first book, and we made every mistake we could possibly make, right down to the pages not being proportionately sized for a comic book, so we had to print a magazine size. It was a 56-page book, which I would never do again. The only smart thing we did was, and it's only because we couldn't afford color back then, was we made it in black and white. So a 56-page black and white book was actually feasible. You know, today I would split that book in half, and it would be 2 issues. But you don't know those things. You're enthusiastic. You're excited because you're kids and you're making comics, and you want the first issue to be like a Marvel Giant Size summer special. And you know you don't know the ins and outs of the business, and you're stupid. But that's the joy of being young, and you know youth is wasted on the young, and that's so true. But you know what? We did it, and a lot of people. You know, we were a big influence on a lot of people in the region because we did it, and we were doing it. So yeah, in that era, Superior 7 #1. In the new era, I would have to say probably issue two of Pitter Patter, because it's when I really started coming into my own as a cartoony sequential artist. I did the first 4 issues of Peanut Pudding and Jelly all myself, wrote it, penciled it, inked it, colored it, and then on issues 5 and 6, I inked, I colored, and I wrote. Um, but with issue 2 of Pitter Patter, I could see where I had turned a corner, and the characters were more fluid, and they just had they looked more like what they do in my head. And I was at that point where, you know, we talked earlier about letting go and just doing it. It's something that I've known for years, but knowing it and executing it are 2 different things.
Sometimes,
And
yeah.
I just let it go and just had fun. And I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to get it from the printers because it was very rewarding to do. So to hold that book in my hand it's going to be pretty sweet. I can't wait to get it.
So I'm going to ask one little follow-up to Pitter Patter 2. Was it like me? Was there like a fear of letting go? Because I recognize like my fear, like my afraid that I would suck. The other thing about that is it's when it's yours and you haven't done it yet and you're still struggling for that piece, it's still kind of yours.
Yeah.
The moment you let it go, it's no longer yours. Right? And that's a hard thing to do, especially when it's not, when you look, like in my case, this probably wasn't the case with you, but with me, in my case, like, I look at someone like Anvu, and I'm like, oh, there's no chance in hell I'm that good. There's no chance in hell.
Not gonna happen.
No. Wow. On is amazing. For everybody watching, listening, like, you definitely, if you ever listen or watch it, On is an amazing talent. But you're going like,
who are you saying?
Anvu, ANHVU. Like, look her up, man. She's incredible. I'll hook you up after if you haven't seen her. Right?
Okay.
If you haven't seen her, like she's amazing. She's from Hawaii. She's an awesome talent. It's like you see people like that, and you're like, no, there's no chance in hell. There's no chance in hell I'm there yet. And I probably, and in all fairness to me, I'm not gonna be there for a long time. But that's not where I'm at. I'm at the point where I'm having fun.
Yeah.
But you're how to put this ever so the right way. You have to. Even when you're just trying to have fun, there's still that point of you're putting it out there. It's not yours anymore. Someone else will see it, comment, share, all that stuff, and it's like, okay, right, okay, so now what? Like, was it like kind of like that with you, with when you blindly let go? Was like, this isn't going to be mine anymore. What is everybody going to think? Does that hit your head, or is it more like, I gotta get over my own my own pretensions to perfection, because I'm full of shit there.
I still struggle with that. It's if we're being completely honest, yeah, because when these stories come to me, they are so vividly clear in my head. I know the camera angle, I know the lighting, I know I know it all. Expressions on the faces, the reactionary shots of the people on the peripheral of the panels, where the action lines go. I know all that stuff. And there have been a handful of times where I've gotten pages back from somebody and I just get a big broad smile on my face, because they've captured what was up here. And that is probably the most rewarding thing, is when you are presented with pages that are straight out of your head. That's like, them putting a child in your hands when your wife has given birth. Because I mean, these stories, these characters, they're I don't have any children. These are my babies. So to see what's in my head in tangible form and achieve that that's, you can't buy that.
No. But when the pages you don't quite succeed, are you mad at yourself a little bit?
I used to be, but it's that whole letting go thing that we talked about, because the only person that knows is you, to quote a famously brilliant woman that's sitting across the room.
Can I offer a perspective that might even make you a little more comfortable?
Yeah.
So sometimes, and I recognize this in my own writing. Like every story, like no matter how we justify this in our head, every story's been told, every image has been drawn. Now, grant you, right? I mean, some thoughts are more unique than others. Like in my current story, I played an undead zombie Hydra, just because I thought, killing the original Hydra wasn't scary enough. How the hell do you deal with something that's already dead that's still growing, like these weird like, I'm crazy. But someone's come up with a monster like that before. Someone's come up with a story featuring something like that in the past in their own way. But what makes it different, what truly makes any story different, is the person telling it. So when you look at those imperfections or those things, I didn't quite hit that page, right? It's still you.
Yeah.
And some of those imperfections actually are what make the story better. Like when I used to do podcasts like live, we'd be at restaurants, cafes, stuff like that. I keep stuff like where the waitress coming to order. I keep stuff like where things got messed up, because I realized something very valuable. Errors or these little imperfections make a story that much more authentic. If it was a fully polished story, right, it was probably perfect, it wouldn't be as good. It actually would be worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's life isn't perfect, and the mundane can be interesting, especially to an audience, because the audience gets you as a product, for a set amount of time every week or once a month or whatever. So they're used to what they're getting. But when they get behind that curtain and they get to see you stacking the boxes and sharpening the pencils and stacking the paper, getting your drink filled and making sure, when they get to see all that behind the scenes stuff, the waitress coming over and taking your order, that's a day in the life stuff. And that stuff is very appealing to people because people like to see works in progress. Mm-hmm. And it's not works in progress doesn't just apply to, a piece of artwork. It applies to a story. It applies to a podcast. It applies to a day. A day is a work in progress.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, love that stuff.
Yeah, well, it's the realest stuff, right? Also, though, those little imperfections in your story and your art, right? They give you that voice. What makes a Rodney Fyke story or a Rodney Fyke story? Well, those little imperfections are part of that. So
right.
Instead of maybe trying to overcome perfection, accentuate what those flaws actually show to the world, because that, my friend, is what makes you you, and that actually makes it unique. Just my thought. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I agree. It makes sense.
Yeah. So, good sir. I gotta come on your show. I think I have to come on your show, and I have to draw with you on your show. I think I have to do that at some point.
We can do that.
Yeah.
We can make that happen.
We can make that happen. We should make that happen. I think. And the next time you come back on my show, because I would love to have you back. You are always welcome to come back.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
We
Thank you.
should do it like a drink and draw, whereas we come and draw some stuff. Like I'm doing drawing Full Metal Alchemist for the first time ever this week. I'm really stoked to do it because I'm a big Full Metal Alchemist guy, right? As you can tell, I do have a bit of Japanese. I love some of the Japanese manga anime style. I just love the expressiveness of it. It's kind of fun. And
okay.
Right. So I'm doing Full Metal Alchemist for the first time, and then maybe next week or maybe sometime whenever I do come on your show, maybe I'll do something with ninjas. I don't know. I'm just having, like I said, I'm in that point in my life. I'm having fun with this.
Yeah.
Right. In the process, somehow miraculously get good. I mean, that's just. I mean, it sounds silly, but that's what I'm doing. Right. It's like, how am I going to get good? Have fun. Because if you have fun, it's real. So I kind of feel like we would that would be cool to do with you. I think we'd have a blast. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm down. Yeah. Definitely down for it. It'll be fun.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when the show comes to an end. But I think could be wrong. I think we have a pretty good interview here. What do you think, sir?
I think so. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we went from like super serious to silly, back to super serious again, and got introspective. I have to say I've come to this conclusion. You, my sir, are not just a pretty face. You're a pretty smart dude.
Aw.
Yeah.
You too. She said, "Don't give him a big head." My baseball cap's already tight.
It's okay. Listen, that obnoxious T-shirt idea, I'm not kidding. You should do it. That would be just do like a little comic strip with what your wife said. It's brilliant. I'm not even kidding. It's brilliant. I would buy it. I would buy that shirt. Right? So, but good sir. I mean, you got a Kickstarter coming up. I wish you the absolutely best of luck. We'll do this again. We'll do all the wonderful promotional stuff here. How can people find you? How can people find your project? And you should send me the link so I can put it up so people can see it. And then we'll wrap the show up.
Okay. Everybody can find me on Facebook and Twitter under Rodney Fyke Art. And you can find me on the gram at Rodney_Fyke there. Also, as I said before, all of the books are available at Hazm.com. That's HAZZUM.com. The books are there. I've got a little blog back in the 90s there. All kind of fun stuff there. Introduction to the cast and the crew. Roadkill Rampage 2 Kickstarter. We're planning on launching that on the 20th of October. So get back in here with you. Talk about that again.
That'd be cool. Maybe draw something and talk Kickstarters as we go.
Absolutely, that'd be a blast. Maybe we can we can pull the little lady in to talk about the Kickstarters because she's the brains behind that operation.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. No, smart woman. Smart woman. I will not argue with one bit. And that little we'll still keep that part a little secret as to how we know she's the brains of this outfit. Probably me too. Probably. I almost would bet money on that, but that's okay. That's all right. So Hasm.com, Rodney Fyke. Look. What's your Twitch?
That Rodney Fyke Art.
Underscore or anywhere, or just Rodney Fyke Art?
Just Rodney Fyke Art. Facebook and Twitch.
All right. So that is what you want to look for. You get into his Twitch channel, subscribe to it. I've only been able to go to one of his shows so far. I've been trying to make a point not to come a little bit more often. But this is Ronnie and his Kickstarter Roadkill Rampage, October 20th. Definitely check her out. Ronnie's a cool dude. We had a hell of a chat here. I really appreciated it. And for everybody watching and listening tomorrow, our guest is Meredith Logren. This is gonna be fun. I've been looking forward to this.
She's a blast.
She's awesome.
Yes, she is.
So, and if Nita Lanning's the other, I actually want to interview both of them separately. I want to interview both of them separately because here's the thing about Nita. She hides. Like Meredith is great, but she will hide sometimes a little bit with Meredith there because Meredith is so good at what she does. But the fact is, and I noticed about Nita, there's a very sharp, tough, like really, really capable woman there. And I kind of want to peel some layers out of that because I know she's awesome. But at the same time, every time I've done that, I've scared her a little bit because I see her, it's like, no, you get to come out and play too. I need you to talk, right? So
yeah, she's awesome. She doesn't want to turn the light on to reveal that. So you got to pull it out of her.
Oh no, I definitely will. I think she knows that. That's why she's not got a scheduled date yet. Just when that will happen. But Meredith's tomorrow, and I can't really because Meredith, I get the feeling has such a cool history that I haven't fully known and realized yet. I would love to really get into that. I can't wait. That's tomorrow. For everybody, I have a really cool weekend. Friday, I do Drink and Draw with Shawnee O. And then I do have some guests next week. I am moving back to Calgary. There's going to be a week hiatus somewhere very in early October. Me heading back to Calgary as I figure some stuff out. But for those watching, those listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Support his Kickstarter because it's awesome. Remember my sponsor, Jennifer Lieberman, the Hero of the What. She's an incredible talent. She's giving away the books. If you look at the link below, when you guys, especially if you're listening to the show, you've got an opportunity to give away her audiobook, Hero of the What. Hit the like, follow button on my Twitch, Just Joshing Podcast. Hit the like, subscribe, enable notifications on my YouTube channel, Joshua Penteloresco. Alice Zero is nominated for the Elgin Award this year. Alice 1 tentatively is coming out November 1st. I might push it back 1 month just so I can be acclimated to my next location. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. Rodney, thanks again, man. Everybody, tomorrow.